It's been just over a year since your first short film, 61 Hugs, was released.
I know.
And that has flown by. That was your baby.
Yeah.
So it was received really well, high acclaim from the critics. You went across to the US for film festivals to have your film premiered there as well as back here in the UK. So now, just over a year later, you're back with another offering. So we've got a 7-part series of short films, and it's entitled The Bench.
Yeah.
This again focuses on those wonderful interactions with human beings that you have, and that is your thing. That's what you're good at. There's no hiding the fact that you are so passionate about your work and the content that you create. I would really love to know what drives you.
As far as unscripted content that's based on interactions with strangers is concerned, that started in 2015, my first, actually to date, my biggest challenge, 100 musicians, where I survived in London for 6 months on just £100. And through that challenge, I just experienced some remarkable kindness from people I've never met, and we had some wonderful interactions, and that just awoken me to, is it awoke or awokened? Let's go for awoke, because it's definitely not awakened. It just
Awakened.
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 Right, all right, let's go for awakened.
It's awakened you.
Thank you. It awakened me. I'm not convinced. It awakened me to the joy of just what happens when you leave yourself vulnerable to an idea and humans you've never met. And then the more I did it, the more surprises and joy that just happened through those adventures. And 61 Hugs, as you mentioned, was probably the most widely embraced thing I've done, so that just spurred me to continue finding angles to interact with people I've never met. And The Bench is more, I would call it a series of unscripted, it's an unscripted docu-reality thing rather than short films, but yes.
So we get a small insight into people's lives as you sit and talk to them on the bench. Now, we don't know as a viewer what's happening any more than you do, as everything is completely unscripted.
Yeah.
It depends on who turns up at what time and you just meet. So can you tell me, out of all of those people in the 7 episodes, whose story stood out to you the most and why?
It's going to be impossible for me to go for anyone other than Jason, episode 4. That episode was called Mum. And I remember when I wrote the idea for The Bench and I was thinking like into a few episodes ahead, what possible encounters will I experience? And I remember quite vividly thinking, based on my experience in the past, I knew that something's going to really surprise me. What could possibly surprise me the most about this series? And I just thought, what if someone shares a really personal, honest, raw truth, not about them, but about a member of their family? Then I thought, what could be the most personal story about a family and who could it relate to make it more impactful? And I just thought, someone's going to tell me something personal about their mum who's having health difficulties. And I thought, I bet that happens probably by series 3, because it'll take a while for the universe to bring me that kind of thing. But it turns out it was in episode 4. So when that happened after that episode, you can see in the episode I was quite shaken up right at the end, to be fair. And that wasn't an act. That was just genuine. I was thinking, holy shit. And yeah, I wasn't expecting it within series 1 at all. So definitely episode 4, Mum.
As the series progresses, we get to see that it's not just the people that you meet who open up, okay? We start to see a glimpse of your own thoughts and your own feelings. And the expression on your face tells me everything I need to know about, and I think you've probably answered the question already. Yeah. But we start to see a more vulnerable side of you. And I'd like to know, is that something that you allow people to see often? Are you comfortable with that?
I won't say I'm uncomfortable per se, but it's definitely not my preference. I always, with no exceptions, like the content and the people that I'm engaging with to be front and centre. And it might seem to a casual onlooker that it's a CK show, but I actually actively try to make sure it's anything but that. Everything I always do, I always try to shine a light on the people I'm engaging with. The Bench is a little bit different though, because the very nature of it means if I sit down at 11 p.m. on a bench, there's a high chance that someone's not going to walk past till 20 past. right? And there's 20 minutes that I have to keep people engaged. I knew that I wouldn't be engaged with disposable nonsense about me going out with my mates.
Yeah.
And I just knew that this would probably be an ideal time to actually start sharing some truths, some CK truths. It wasn't a realization I was delighted with, but it was one that made sense to me. And I thought, do you know what? If you're gonna ask people to share a 20-minute journey with you at night when not a great deal is going on, it's time to start telling them some stuff. So, well observed.
Fair enough. Approaching people that you don't know and striking up conversations, that seems quite an easy and a very natural thing for you to do. Although not everybody's that brave, and it does come with potential risks. For example, not everybody welcomes you or wants to talk to you.
Yeah.
Why not? I don't know. But how do you cope with those kinds of rejections? Doesn't that hurt? Doesn't that discourage you? How do you deal with that?
The irony of it is, because from a writer point of view, I consider myself a writer first. I always like to think you can put anyone in what I do, just have the idea, then get someone else in it. So from a writer's point of view, I know to make content compelling, there has to be light and shade. It's just the way it works. 61 Hugs wouldn't have been as engaging if everybody said yes. You have to have that contrast. So as far as this is concerned, I entered it thinking, do you know what? I hope to get some really great, fun, memorable, interesting, entertaining conversations, but please God, someone tell me I'm uninterested because this is weird. Because it just has to be there for it to have balance.
Yeah.
Jason in episode 4, for example, I don't think anybody, I think he was the only person I spoke to that night, ironically.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is, for that to stand up, there has to be someone who thinks it's weird and just ignores me. In my opinion, people might disagree, but I always like the contrast. So no, it doesn't necessarily bother me, to be fair. I don't like it, but I know it's necessary.
Yeah, that's fair. I would say quite a funny point for me was the Running Man. No spoilers, but I really enjoyed the Running Man. That was a personal little moment where I laughed out loud.
I like that. Same. It
was great.
I just loved it. I loved it.
But you were sat on a bench in the centre of Sheffield. It was Walkley, wasn't it?
It is Walkley, so
Yeah,
it's maybe 10 minutes walk from the centre.
Yeah, so it makes
I don't know what he was running for, though. What do you
knows?
think?
I don't know. Maybe he's still running now. Who knows? Whatever happened to the Running Man? Maybe he needs to get in touch with you.
Yeah, he needs his own series. He just runs in random places.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I like that bit. Okay, so bearing in mind all these conversations that you're having with people, so back onto that thread, have there ever been any conversations that you wish you'd not started?
In life or in the bench?
With filming your human interactions. It can be about the bench, it could be about some of your other interactions that you have with people on film.
No, I don't think I've yet had an unsavory encounter.
Wow.
No, nothing springs to mind. I mean, oh God, I'm thinking now. There's one thing that, while, as you mentioned at the top of this, I went to San Diego for the US premiere of my short film last year, 61 Hugs. There is a conversation I had with the guy at a bus stop, which is quite harrowing. Harrowing is not even an overstatement, by the way. He outlined what he did as a kid, which some people probably get to that bit in the video when I release and think, yeah, this guy's not for me. Mm-hmm. But that will show itself at some point. I don't necessarily regret that conversation though, because he just opened up and just started talking. That happens to me all the time, as you probably have seen. Yeah. So yeah, there's nothing that, from my point of view, I'm not a fan of.
Oh, good. So on the flip side of that, have there been any conversations with anybody that you wished could have just lasted longer?
Again, in the context of the bench, or just generally my interactions?
Generally your human interactions across the board, but it could be in the bench.
Well, if we in the context of the bench, I don't know. I'm quite sensitive to people's attention spans. I think the bench is probably the most audacious format I've ever done. And by audacious, I mean I'm asking a lot of viewers, because until the interactions happen, sometimes there's like 5, 6, 7, 8 minutes of me talking, but I didn't want to get rid of that because I think it undermines the fact that sometimes I was sat there for ages. Yeah. And my attention span is so limited. So if I was watching the bench, I might have questions with it, but I just thought I can't pander to dwindling attention spans because it'll undermine the whole essence of the thing. So I'm, you know, I think the on-screen conversations lasted as long as people's will permit, their attention spans will. But I'd like to speak to them all afterwards. Yeah. Especially the two gentlemen in the closing episode, which you'll all realise why. But people have seen Screen and said episode 1 and episode 7 are the standouts. So. Okay. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so this brings me to my final question. Now, this situation couldn't happen in reality, so you're going to have to extend your belief.
I love the sound of this.
So, hypothetically speaking, okay, if you were approached by yourself in the street, to what extent do you think you could open up to a stranger?
Do you know how many times I've asked myself this exact question? I actually allude to it in one of the episodes, and if we again reference episode 4, Jason, that episode was called Mum, would I have shared something like that? I even said it at the end of the episode. I referenced how I would have said what he said to me. But on a more basic level, I've walked past that bench since recording it at night, and I walk past it a lot because it's on the route to my house. So whenever I walk past it at night, I always think, would I stop for me? The answer's always no. Weirdly, because it's so creepy. And that's probably going to shock a lot of people. But like, when I walk past that bench at night, when I recorded it, and I think if I just stopped me, would I stop? I don't know, because I don't know me, so people probably get a different energy from me than I get from me, if that makes sense. But I just think it's weird. But that's why I wanted to do it. So people did stop. I don't know. Maybe I would stop for me. Would you have stopped, Charlie?
If I didn't know you and you seemed friendly, yes, because I like to believe in this world that there are good people. Yeah. I am sadly proven that is not the case a lot of the time. Okay. But I still want to remain hopeful.
Same.
And I think it's about, you approach people in such a way that is very disarming. So it's, all right, mate. What do you think about fate? Or what do you think about the price of fish? Whatever it is. No, you can't take that idea. That's my idea. Okay. But no, I think you are quite disarming. So in that sense, yes, but then there's a different dynamic, possibly approaching men and possibly approaching women as well at night. So I know that you're probably very, very aware of that. Yes. Horribly aware of that, unfortunately. Yes. But I think, I would stop if I didn't know you. Yes, because I would, I would.
Okay, good on you.
Yeah.
Good on you. Just depends how nice my fish was. All right.
Yeah, that's an old phrase. My nan used to say it. It's a Sheffield phrase, I think.
Fair, I'll take it.
Yeah. That's the end of my questions.
Well, thank you so much, Charlie. Thank you.